Well, we've got our good friend Rabbi Jack Moline here with us, president of Interfaith Alliance. We talked together an awful lot last week about the Republican convention.
Yes,
we
did.
come here to the Democratic convention tonight. I know that two words that are extremely important to you are the words faith and freedom. How have those fared in this convention so far?
Well, freedom's been doing very, very well. Faith, a little more difficult. I had the privilege to be at the Interfaith gathering that was held here. It was very powerful, very passionate.
You were involved in it, right?
I was involved in it as an independent agent, not representing Interfaith Alliance, but we had a very powerful, very religious, I would say, experience. What I haven't heard here is the integration of the faith of the speakers, of the candidates, into their message. I have not heard them talk about the nature of faith, the nature of religion in their lives. I'm not sure that's a good thing or a bad thing. We've seen that, you and I both. We've seen it done well, and we've seen it done horribly. But unfortunately, we've also seen it done not at all. And because it is such a central part of a lot of people's identity, it's important for candidates and speakers to at least reference how faith impacts their positions on public policy.
Jack, I last night heard two or three speakers make the point that Muslims being banned from this nation because they're Muslims just isn't a part of the United States Constitution. I know that we both know that. That doesn't, in my mind, and I don't know, I'm going to ask you about yours, that doesn't satisfy what you're asking about in relation to statements of faith. The reason I want to ask it that way is I want you to distinguish the good way to refer to faith in situations like this and where you shouldn't go with that.
So every American has freedom of conscience. It's guaranteed by the First Amendment, and there should be no investigation of whether someone meets a litmus test or subscribes to a certain set of principles as somebody blessed to be a part of the citizenry of the United States. So that's the right way to go about it, is to affirm that whether you profess a faith or you profess no faith, and whichever faith or no faith you profess, it's irrelevant to both the privileges and responsibilities of citizenship. The wrong way to do it is to establish, as I said to someone else, to establish that it's fine to be a Jew, it's fine to be a Muslim, it's fine to be a Hindu, as long as you're a good Christian. And that's what we hear too much of in the discussion of faith and values from people who are far to the right of center.
Yeah. So how would you talk about your faith, the Jewish faith? How would you talk about your faith in this setting?
There's a principle in Judaism. In Aramaic, it's dina de malchuta dina, which it's a felicitous sounding phrase, but the translation is equally felicitous. The law of the land is the law, except in those matters which govern our personal religious conduct. We are obligated as faithful Jews to obey the law of the land. And what I would suggest is that that's something we can offer as a universal approach to religious faith in this country. Mm-hmm. Everyone has the right to do what they need to do religiously, to refrain from religiously, to view some practices to be sinful and others to be obligatory, as long as they don't cross the line into what is the commonly accepted standards as defined by law and especially our Constitution.
I guess I am really influenced more than I want to be by what I've heard in the past. But when we hear someone say, we're going to talk about Christian values, usually that comes off as a kind of exclusionary statement about Christians. This afternoon, I saw 2 or 3 times conversations that were going on about Jewish values. Does that happen the same way in Judaism as does Christianity, or where is the distinction?
It's a great question, Welton. And I think that that the answer is more cultural than it is theological. I think that the notion that Christian values are the default value of the country is often what is intended, particularly when people on the right are talking about those values. When Jews talk about Jewish values, they are speaking overwhelmingly to the Jewish community, which is a minority, a small minority in this country. Now, if a pastor is speaking to his flock and talking about Christian values, that is the appropriate thing for a pastor to do. If a politician stands on a stage, Democratic or Republican, and says it's Christian values that govern this country, then we've taken it out of the realm of church and brought it into the realm of government, and that's inappropriate.
We started with faith and values. Let's end with faith and values. Give me a good wrap-up statement on faith and values.
The ideas that inspire us are welcome in the public square. The practices that divide us should be kept at home.
Jack Moline, President, Interfaith Alliance. Welton Gaddy, State of Belief Radio.